Alrighty, here we are. Gonna try and make some chicken and waffles tonight. Gonna use that uh, double Wagner rectangular waffle iron that I got. It could turn out to be a complete disaster because I've never used it before. It's not broke in or anything, so I might have a bit of a problem with it sticking. We'll see. You know, waffle irons do tend to be a bit grabby until they're broke in good. Until you use them a few times, they do get better to where they release really good. A lot of times you'll have it release on one side when you open it up, and the other side won't really be stuck, but it doesn't want to let go for some reason. It's not, stuck to the iron. It's just kind of locked onto the knobs. But we'll see how it all goes here. My chicken isn't quite what I wanted it to be, and you'll see why here in a little while once we get to the chicken phase of the chicken and waffles. It's all done and ready. It's deep fried, so I did that a little bit ahead of time. Sounds like I've been using your Wii. But anyhow, like I said, we'll get on that in a little bit. Fire's all going. The waffle iron's kind of warm. It'll still take a minute or so to get up to full temperature, but we'll see what happens here when I start making some waffles. Let me amble on over there. And I'd like to think I've got everything all prepared. It'd be a first, but I'd like to think I actually managed it for once. I'll throw a couple of bits of wood in there. Just enough to keep her going good, but I don't really want it to put so much wood in there that it cools it off, getting everything burning again. That takes off takes off good and hot after I've finished. I'll just put a couple in there. That little piece. There we go. And move my poker for a second. I gotta remember to talk at my microphone instead of at the camera because that isn't where the microphone is. Now, come over here. We'll grab this guy. We'll see if that warms up enough on its own over the without opening the eye. Let's see if I can find I want to keep my handles off the edge. Should be pretty warm. Should be warm enough. I want to keep my handles off the edge of the stove a bit. That's how they end up getting charred. And we'll let this heat up and we'll give her a shot. Finally remembered to actually break out my heat gun so I can see how warm things really are. And we'll get this cranking along. Put that up there so it doesn't get too hot over the stove. Put that back over there. And let me look at some of my comments quick and say hi to somebody. We got Billy Lee, William Hertz here, RT Scott. Scroll back here some. Waffle iron looks like waffle iron. Yeah, it looks like it should. It's all cleaned up and repaired. Dan's here. Corey Clark, good to see you. Fritz the cat. Scaldwelk is around somewhere. I get caught back up here with comments. Whew. Plenty warm in here. It's fairly cool yet today, but we're going to start getting up into the 20s and 30s here over the coming week, which is nice. Yeah, that's warming up nicely. It's up to 375 on the side that was facing the fire. Let her warm up a little bit longer, and hopefully both sides will stay hot enough that it cooks my waffle. I grab my towel to get that closer. Anyway, my chicken. Normally I got a fair bit of chicken in the freezer, so I went to get, I was going to make some nice chicken breasts. Now, when I fry chicken, I dip it in egg, and then I roll it in cornstarch. Season up your cornstarch, salt, pepper, little cayenne, whatever else I want to put in there that day. Just dip it in beaten egg, roll her in the cornstarch, throw it in the deep fryer. Gets a beautiful, crispy coating to it. Went to the freezer, no chicken breast. Well, no problem. I'll just make some chicken legs instead. I like legs. Went to look for them, no chicken legs. What I do have, though, are some breaded breast chunks I got at the store a little while ago. They were like $6 for a 5-pound bag. I figured I'd give them a try because they're something nice and fast and just throw them in the deep fryer, cook them up. And it turns out they're actually really good. So I went back and got a couple of more bags of them and broke them down into quart bags and put them in the freezer. So rather than waffles with a nice big chicken breast, I got waffles with they're not really chicken nuggets in the usual sense. They're uncooked chunks of chicken breast that are just breaded. Like I said, they're actually pretty good. But you'll see them once I get some waffles made. Let me check my iron again. Yeah, those are still good and warm. What's the other side look like? Oh yeah, that's definitely going to be hot enough, even without putting it over an open eye. We'll let that side warm up, and we should be able to get ourselves some waffles going. Like I said, it's kind of hard to say exactly how this is going to turn out because not to mention the fact that usually your first pancake or your first waffle is a disaster. It's the first time I've used this iron, so it isn't broke in. God only knows what's going to happen. Do a little rearranging here. All my tools and implements hopefully ready. Got myself a new tripod. It's actually an old tripod, and then made a little adapter piece, so instead of having to wrestle the whole tripod and stand around to move my camera back, I can just take the camera off the tripod, put it on the other one, and it should work. So hopefully that'll be a bit easier than what I've been struggling with. Maybe someday I'll get a decent setup for my mic where I can get that a little bit closer while I'm over here. Yep. I think I should be able to. Ooh, smoky inside. Whoops. Didn't expect that. And I better keep an eye on the other one too so it doesn't do the same to me. Looks like I'll just have to do these one at a time. I got some melted clarified butter. Brush that on. Hopefully get them coated good enough. Set that aside. Flip them over, let them coat both sides a little bit, and time for some batter. I've got no idea how much these will actually need. But we're going to find out together. I'm gripping on my floor a little bit. Yeah, dripping all over the place. You grab a washcloth. That little wipe. Put that over. Got little fires going underneath the base because any little bits and drops of oil can't just fall through into the fire, so they're laying on top of the stove. It shouldn't take terribly long. Those get going. Get a peek. Kind of want to peek, but I don't want to go tearing them apart. Buzzy's computer died. Well, that ain't good. It certainly ain't cheap to replace either, if it's that far dead. Let's have it. Might have screwed that one up a bit, but that's how you figure it out. Kind of tore that one in half a little bit, but we'll let them get cooked up some more, see how it works. But like I said, I didn't have the greatest expectations for the first couple. Thank God for cell phones. Yeah, they can be handy, but my thumbs are way too big for doing any sort of typing and texting on them. Over just a little bit more. $350 so far, $375 on one, $360 on the other. We'll see. How they go. Might be turning them a bit too much too, but said, I'm not sure how this one works quite yet. Or how long it'll take to cook out. Yeah, the working cat, she's around. She's just off camera for the most part. I think I'll see if I can get these off of there now and hopefully get my next one started. That may or may not go better. Got one spot that stuck bad. I don't want this one to go too long. Oops. There we go. Put that back down. Flip that guy. Well, that one's a little bit overdone on the one side, but came out better. I'll show you here in a second. Fire! All right, we'll get the second go around going. Really wants to drip off the back of my ladle. Here's the first one. That one kind of came out, and the other one came out in little bits. Tasty though. Get a little butter on the bigger pieces anyway. And opening these a little too soon probably didn't do them any great favors. But I got some waffle bits to munch on. even the little shredded bits are pretty tasty. Cast iron waffle irons really get waffles nice and crispy on the outside and fluffy on the inside once you get them working right. And usually once you make a half a dozen or so waffles in your iron, a lot of times they don't stick at all anymore. I use my old 1892 Wagner waffle iron quite a bit, and that's broke in real good. And I don't have any problems at all with things sticking in that one. But like I said, this is the very first time that I've used this one. So I expected the first one for sure to be a little bits and pieces kind of disaster. And since I can only use one hand to dip my batter out, it really wants to drip bad off the backside of my ladle. So I got drops of batter all over the floor. I'll have to clean that up. But the mess is half of the fun. Want that again. And dare I peek already? Yeah, I think I'll give her a little. That one seems a little sticky. Yeah, damn it. If you open them up too early, it will kind of tear it open on the inside, because the inside isn't baked all the way through and the outside isn't really released like it should. But hopefully I get a couple of halfway presentable waffles out of this. And even if I don't, I still got some damn tasty little waffle bits here. I don't know if that does any good or not, but we'll see what happens. I'm going to take a peek here. Oh, that one ripped right in half. Peek here. It's getting there. And my fire is kind of cooling off a little bit too. I might have to open up that eye. But I think if I get something out of this, I'll plate up the rest of it and we'll call her a day for the time being. And I can't quite read the comments from here. I can see them, but just enough out of focus. It's a bitch getting old. Eyes going to hell. I'm thinking these are going to be about done. At least the parts that are not stuck to the iron. You can see I got 2 halves of a waffle going there. Set that down. The handles are just warm enough that you hold on to them too long, they get a little hot, but they're not really hot. just off camera, showing you what I'm doing here. Whoops. Yeah, that's plenty done. See, I use a meat fork. It gets between the knobs real good and usually pops them loose pretty easy. A little bit stuck on top of that one knob there. There's that one out. Now, there's most of this one. I'll pop him out. That little bit there. And I'm going to move this over off the heat. And I'll show you what I got here on my second go around. Got a couple of decent ones. That one's done good. That one's a little bit overdone, but not too bad. So overall, if I'd have kept going through and made another 2 or 3 waffles, it probably would have come out pretty good. You get some butter on these while they're still nice and hot. There's one big waffle bit. This is a pile of stuff here. And let me grab my little chicken chunks. I'll throw some of them on the plate. And douse the whole thing with a little bit of maple syrup. There we go. Can't see what I'm doing. Get some on the chicken, some on the waffles. Looks a mess, but it looks good. Now, to see if my new camera setup is any easier, I'm gonna kill the lights on you. Oops. Shut off the lights I don't need on. Let's see, move that around. It's kind of hard to guess what my lighting is going to be like once I get sat down because I don't have a camera over there. And now, bring my camera over, get that on its thing, go grab my plate. A couple of things so I can set my plate down. Almost there. You can't see. Neither can I. All right. Get my chair pulled up and my camera hopefully somewhat aimed. That ain't too bad. Tip that up a little bit, maybe. There we go. I didn't bring my towel. Yeah. Always got to forget something. Move my mic back. Anyhow, like I said, they weren't ideal, but overall, that ain't too damn bad. There's a little chicken bits I made. And find a nice little bit to waffle. There's a piece of waffle. Mm. Definitely a plate full of damn good food, even if it ain't the prettiest looking mess. But like I say, overall, I would if I'd have made another 3 or 4 waffles, it probably would have started coming out of there really good. I use a meat fork, like I said, because it fits between the tines, fit between the knobs really good on the waffle iron. Especially if you find one that actually fits your waffle iron, it's the way to go. It seems to start best if you kind of start in the middle, get the fork under there, and it'll kind of pop itself loose. And yeah, I opened them a little bit early before they were really cooked inside quite enough to hold together. But they were starting to act pretty good. So I think a couple of more uses on that waffle iron, and that'll be uh, a hell of a good waffle iron. Figure out exactly how much to get in there so you get actual full waffles. They got out pretty much to the edge. The batter was a little bit thick, so a little bit thinner batter might flow out better too. But yeah, I mean, they're kind of a pain to restore. The scrubbing can be tough getting in between the knobs and all of that. But having a cast iron waffle iron is definitely worthwhile if you like waffles, because the outside comes up. I mean, you can probably hear it while I'm chewing on it. The outside gets so crispy on a cast iron waffle iron. It's really impressive. It's a lot better than you get with an electric iron or anything else like that. Have I ever done hash browns in a waffle iron? No. I've been meaning to try, and I guess you can make like a cornbread batter. Works real good in a waffle iron too, and it has a bit more oil in it, so it releases better and helps break them in. That's something else I've got to give a shot. I'll back up a little bit on the comments. Like I said, I can see them from over there, but it's just blurry enough that I can't quite make things out. Especially get a little bit of sweat in my eye from standing over the stove. Love the waffle crunch. Yeah, they are just crispy as hell on the outside. Really, really good. Think me and Huey should start the Bearded Iron Band. Best beards you've seen. Yeah, it's about time for me to trim up a little bit too. It's getting a little unruly. You always get a little gob that wants to stick straight out to the side, and my hair is getting long. If it would all grow out at once, I could be one of them long-haired bald guys. I don't mind that, but it goes through a phase where it just sticks out everywhere and you get this bozo hair, look like a clown, and yeah, it looks silly as hell. So if I could grow it out like a foot overnight, to be okay. I used to have hair down in the middle of my back when I was younger, and it looked damn good. But I started going bald fairly young too, and by the time I was 30, I'd just grow it long and push it straight back and tie it back in a ponytail. But by the time I was 30, started to look like a comb over, and screw that. I'd rather be bald than have a comb over. It's a prehistoric George Foreman grill. Yeah, like I said, I made haven't made hash browns or cornmeal waffles, but I have made beef Wellington in a waffle iron, and that turned out really good. I mean, that was pretty slick. There's videos on my channel somewhere if you go look for it. That's how I start the seasoning process. Hash browns, yeah, it makes sense because potatoes do real good for seasoning up cast iron that you've just reseasoned and restored. It does a real nice job of breaking it in. So I'm gonna have to give that a try on the next waffle iron I get cleaned up. And bald guys with beards are tough looking. Yeah, I just like I said, I finally got sick of it looking like a comb over, so I just mowed it all down to a 1/4 inch. But yeah, you start getting the bozo hair going once it's getting long, but not long enough to actually be long. Let's see. When your kids are little, made them chocolate waffle ice cream sandwiches. They love it. That would be really good. I've tried making waffle cones on a waffle iron, and I got a recipe that tastes really good, and you get a nice texture, but they're real inconsistent for some reason. You just can't quite get them right. And all the times I've done them off camera, they come out just fine. I try and do it live. It's just a disaster. Yeah, I'm not sure what I might be missing, or something, what I need to do to the recipe to make them just a little bit more coherent. But, they taste good, but a lot of times you just don't end up with a cone for some reason. I'll grab me a little piece of chicken. T-Bark, glad you found my channel searching for candied ginger recipes. Now you're wishing you hadn't passed your cast iron skillet collection to your son. Too heavy for you to use safely any longer. Yeah, there is lighter cast iron out there, the old gate mark stuff, and a lot of the really, antique vintage pans are lighter, but if it's too heavy, it's just too heavy. I mean, there's no sense in, as much as I love cast iron, there's no sense in killing yourself just to use it. And I gotta make some more crystallized ginger here pretty soon because I'm out of ginger bourbon. I use the liquids left over and the leftover syrup from boiling up the to make the ginger crystallize, and you mix that 2 parts alcohol and 1 part of your syrup to make like ginger brandy or ginger bourbon, and that is really good. And a good strong ginger brandy is great for colds. It make yourself a hot toddy out of sharp ginger brandy, and it'll definitely clear your head right up. Mm. Yeah, still nice and crispy even after sitting with syrup on them for a while. Mm. But yeah, that's another thing that I have a video on my channel for, both making both the crystallized ginger and the brandy. I'm pretty sure I used bourbon in the video though. Like I said, it's really good. I love ginger anyway, so being able to make your own ginger brandy is really nice. Around here you can find ginger brandy. It's ginger flavored, but real ginger is a lot better. Used to be a swimmer before states. You shave down, you grow your hair for 6 months before shaving your head. Looked like Private Pile. Itchy nose. But yeah, overall, I'd say I'm pretty happy with that waffle iron, how it performs, how it works. A little more breaking in, it'll be pretty good. And like I say, it takes a bit to break in any cast iron, especially waffle irons, because the little knobs want to grab things. I didn't do a really good job of demonstrating, but popping them loose, you can see it usually doesn't stick to the iron, but it doesn't want to let go of the knobs either. Once you get them worked loose, they usually come off pretty good. But once they're broke in good, it just pops right off of there, just enough to lift them. Always add fresh ginger to your tea diffuser when you feel the sick coming on. Yeah, ginger is really good for a lot of things. You don't even have to be into, be a herbal medicine hippie type, but ginger is definitely a good remedy for a lot of things that ail you. Make a peach bourbon ginger preserve. The flavors pair so well together. I bet they would. Bourbon and chocolate go together real good. I like to take a this little square of Hershey's chocolate or any kind of chocolate, whether you like bittersweet or milk chocolate. Just let it melt in your mouth and kind of roll it around a little bit. Get your mouth coated with melted chocolate. Take a swig of bourbon. It's really, really good. Corey teasing me with his chicken. Yeah, like I said, I was surprised I'm gonna have to do some chicken shopping because usually I've got a fair bit of chicken legs, chicken breasts in the freezer, and apparently I let myself run out. But I did have the chicken bits, and like I said, them are surprisingly good. They're not chicken nuggets, like the usual, like McDonald's. They're just kind of random chunks of breast meat that they breaded, and they're uncooked. You got to deep fry them a little longer than you would nuggets. Used to do brandy and chocolate. Yeah, it'd be brandy and chocolate really go together good. That's what else I was going to do. I was going to put that picture up you sent me, Scald, with your Atlanta Stoveworks grill. Got together and made a little cardboard fire door for it. It says Mud Stoveworks. And I was going to, I got it on my email, but I didn't download the image so I could show you. And I spaced it out getting ready for this, but I'll try and remember to do that next week. And there, it's a cool little stove. Hopefully, you will find a fire door for it. You're definitely the herbal medicine hippie type. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of things that a lot of different, herbal remedies are good for, but some people take it to ridiculous extremes. But there's, like I say, peppermint, is good for your stomach. That settles you down. I mean, even sucking on a couple of Altoids, if you have a upset stomach, really settles it down. Peppermint, ginger, things like that really do help with a lot of things. Especially if you wash your herbal tea down with a double shot of Wild Turkey 101, whatever whatever the herbs doesn't get, the bourbon will. Yeah, like I say, I'll try to remember to get that picture up for next week because I got to download it from the email. Let's see. Trying to think of what I might want to do for next week. There's a couple of things that I know I wanted to try and make in the walk this year, and of course I can't remember them. I mean, I gotta think of this shit about September. By the time it's cool enough to fire up the cook stove, I've forgotten all about what I was going to try. So, like I said, I'm always threatening to write these things down and keep a little notebook so that I have some idea of what the hell I was thinking of. Minnie, okay? She was looking like a foot stalker while you were cooking. Oh yeah, she up in her thing there. I don't see her. But yeah, she's hanging around and stalking my feet. She's got to be underfoot while I'm cooking. Other than that, she's usually not too in the way. She didn't lean by the stove either. But she put in an appearance, so it's probably best I don't have her chewing on my arm right now anyway. Don't go outside, my sweat will turn to ice. It ain't that cold out. It's only, what is, can't quite see, there it is. It's about 12, which is pretty decent. Like I say, it's supposed to get up into the 20s and maybe even the 30s this week, so it's going to be nice out. But yeah, there's been plenty of times working outside in the winter. You get sweat running down your face and your mustache, get big icicles hanging off my mustache. And of course, the moisture from your breath freezing on your beard. Come in the house, you look like a Yeti. Yeah, she's MIA. Oh, she's around. She's always lurking somewhere. A bit. Mm. And some nice real maple syrup on there. This stuff's actually a couple, 3 years old, what I got left in that bottle. Got it from a guy I work with who makes it himself. And just keeping it in the fridge. Getting down towards the end of it finally. But, kind of save it for nice things. Don't use it on just Lego waffles out of the toaster. But, yeah, it maple syrup just tastes better and better if you let it age a while. I'm gonna have Paul bring me a notebook to take notes. Yeah, it's like making a grocery list. You'll think of 25 things while you're driving home from work, and you get home and you remember about half of them, get them written down, and always doing that sort of thing. Can't remember what the hell you were thinking of when it's time to actually get things together. But maybe someday I'll remember to write down a couple of things. Of course, then I'll lose the damn notebook. Find that. Camera blinked there for a second. And, of course, then I'd lose the notebook until summer. I have to start all over again. A lot of the cheaper maple syrups are maple flavored corn syrup. Yeah, either that or they'll cut real maple syrup with corn syrup. But this is right out of the tree. They do that a lot with honey too. They'll use dextrose syrup and or glucose syrup, I think it is, and it's chemically identical to the sugar in honey, so it's really hard to tell sometimes the fake honey or if they've diluted real honey with with sugar syrup. Want to make fire cider? You only got so far as make apple cider vinegar. It's been on your counter for a year and you're afraid to open it. It'll either be really good or it'll just gas you out right as soon as you open it. Never get the smell out of your house. Cynthia's taking off. Well, good to see you as always, Cynthia. I like going 50-50 honey and syrup. That'd be pretty good too. Another little piece here. That one's a little syrupy. Yeah, it's been sitting quite a while now, good almost half hour with butter and syrup on it, and the waffles are still crispy. So, like I said, they're definitely worthwhile to have at least one old cast iron waffle iron. And most of them you can get away without a base. A lot of times you can just lay the paddles right on the burner of your stove, especially Griswolds where they lock together. A lot of the a lot of the Wagner waffle irons, they have the ball for where it sits in the base, and the balls are smooth on the inside. They're just split down the middle, so you got to be kind of careful picking them up if you take them out of the base or if you're using them without one, because there's nothing to hold that end together when you grab the handles. The Griswolds, they got some little teeth inside and they kind of interlock a little bit. And like Stovers, they got a pin through them where they're pinned together. So if you're going to use them without a base, Wagner isn't the best, but a lot of the other ones are no problem. You can use Wagners directly on the burner if you're careful with them, but even if it's a low base and you put it on a gas burner, or I use it on my electric stove, it's got coils. You just got to pick the handles up, spin it around, and lay it back down, and they work fine and dandy. Have I ever tried beekeeping? No. My wife was allergic to bees anyway, and I just don't have the time to mess around with it. I do know some people that there's a fairly good sized beekeeping operation around here. I know people that work for it, and so if I need honey, I can get gallons of honey at a time. So I don't really need to monkey around with the wee bugs. I can see the appeal. I mean, I got quite a few things around here that really attract bees. So, a hive or two would probably be pretty easy to support. The Pro Bowl game is tonight. All right. See what they're up to. It's been a while since I even got around to watching a football game because I'm usually either asleep or working when the game is on, and just haven't really had time to catch it. And I'm not going to go out too far. You can rent out your land, purchase the honey farms. Yeah, there's like I said, there's a fairly good sized beekeeping operation around here, and you see them putting hives all over the place. And what they do is a lot of times they'll head down to Texas and that part of the country during the winter, and beekeepers will rent out their hives to these farms, to pollinate crops, pollinate, fruit trees, that sort of thing. And they get paid for it, and they get to keep the honey out of it. The only thing that you can't really do with them is they hire out to almond farmers to pollinate the almond trees, but they have to throw the honey away because it makes it really bitter and really nasty tasting from the almond flowers. But other than that, yeah, he makes pretty good money going down south over the winter and hiring out his hives to pollinate. It reminds you got a number 8 and a number 9 button hinge waffle iron and need to clean up the season. Yeah, I got several that I need to get on, but it can take some doing to talk yourself into busting the hell out of your knuckles scrubbing up waffle irons. Like I said, they're a pain to get cleaned up good, especially if they're kind of bad. But that's worthwhile. Really want to learn yourself how to do beekeeping. Yeah, there's it's not difficult, but there's a lot to it. It's one of them things where it's not really not all that complicated, but there's still a lot of little details that'll screw you over if you don't if you're not on them. Honey makes good moonshine, but it's expensive. Yeah, honey isn't cheap. Is a wasp sting as good as a bee sting in pain management? Couldn't tell you. Never really never really sat down and compared the two. Been stung plenty of times. I'm not allergic to bees, so I'm not too worried about getting stung. Some people use the stings to help arthritis. I'd heard that. The bee venom counteracts the pain in the joints. And I don't know if the if bee venom is quite the same as wasp venom either. So no, just a bigger hurt. Anyhow, I've been at this for about an hour. We'll get her wrapped up here. Call it a day. What kind of waffle maker did I use? It's a Wagner Ware square double waffle iron. It's got two rectangular waffle irons side by side on the same base. And yeah, they used to make 3, 4 uh, iron waffle irons for restaurants and that sort of thing. What's your favorite tool for small detail cast cleaning? What works really good is a grout brush. It's you'd find it in, surprisingly enough, the tile section of like Menards or Lowe's or something like that. It's got fairly long bristles, but it's real narrow, and it's got some stiffer wire bristles in among the nylon bristles, and it really works good for getting in between things like waffle irons and corn stick pans. So grout brushes work pretty good. Grout cleaning brush rather. Not a. But anyhow, let's get this wrapped up. I'll see you guys next week. We'll think of something to do between now and then. And hope you enjoyed the show. I'm going to finish up my chicken and waffles here and get myself to bed. So I'll see you guys next week. And like I said, hope you enjoyed the show.